Okay, so welcome everyone to this masterclass introducing you to the world of working with ceremonial cacao. I'm so pleased that you have chosen to join us and learn a little bit more about how cacao can assist you in your health and well-being and your journey of self-discovery, and learn a little bit more about why cacao is the ultimate well-being remedy, or one of the many ultimate well-being remedies. So we're going to take a little journey together, and I'm going to go through some of the areas of working with ceremonial cacao that are and have been part of my journey for over 13 years as a medicine carrier for plant spirit, and how I became deeply immersed in plant medicine was through cacao. She really has expanded my own exploration of the realms of the unseen world of plant teachers. And she's always been, how can I say, a very supportive guide and oftentimes a demanding mistress. And so I wanted to just share with you a little bit about my background and how long we're going to be sharing time together today. So I estimate that this masterclass will be approximately 1 hour long, maybe a bit less. And I'd like to be touching on some of the main areas of working with cacao in this sacred way. And just to let you know a little bit more about myself, so I was introduced to working with cacao over 13 years ago, and literally meeting cacao as plant spirit teacher changed my life and set me off on a path of self-discovery and expansion that I just really didn't see coming. And so this plant, which has a deeply sacred and feminine characteristics and avatar, really helps us to develop our deep connection with our divine feminine, regardless of whether we are female or male, or anything in between those realms. Whatever you identify as, it doesn't really matter. She is very feminine and very nurturing, guiding, embracing, and she's a very forceful medicine. Yet she invites you to explore the realms of your sacred self in such a way that can push you out of your comfort zone. Yet it is an invitation to go into those areas of yourself that may be a little bit, how can I say, uncomfortable at times, and certainly explores your boundaries of what is comfortable and where you may want to go next in life. So as a plant spirit medicine, this plant offers you a deep immersion into this journey of self-discovery. And what I'd love to do is just explore a little bit more. And you can always ask me more about my journey with cacao, which is actually never, ever stopping. It's getting bigger and bigger and more expansive the more I work with her and her plant teacher allies, of which there are so many. And we're going to talk a bit about those later on in the class. So to begin with, what is cacao, and how does it work with us as a plant spirit medicine teacher? Okay, so as we are exploring this, what I'd like to do to start with is just introduce you to what you might be more familiar with, which is chocolate. Now, most of us are familiar with chocolate bars that we buy in the stores or in the chocolate shops, you know, with the posh counters of all these pretty shapes and flavors of chocolate and what have you. But really, when we're working with a plant spirit medicine, we are stripping back away from what we see under the shiny lights of the supermarket shelves and the chocolatier counters. And we're looking at what is chocolate, where does it come from? And what I'd like to sort of show you here is the different elements of cacao. And later on, we're going to explore some more of the health benefits and also the contraindications, because like most herbal medicines, of which cacao is one great teacher medicine, they are powerfully, physically, emotionally, and spiritually attracting change within our body. And we need to be aware of that facilitation when we are working with a plant spirit teacher. So cacao, I wish I had my pod here, but you'll see pictures shortly. Cacao is a fruit, and the part that we eat is inside the actual pod. And it is surrounded by a beautiful sweet fruit, which if ever any one of you gets the chance to eat fresh cacao from the pod, I highly recommend it, because you wouldn't know how it relates to chocolate and cacao that we are so accustomed with. Okay, so as you can see, you have the cacao beans, which come from the pod. And then we're going to look in a little while about the process of making cacao with the beans. But they are fermented for a number of days in quite a hot condition. And then they are then taken out of the fermenting boxes and dried under the sun. And then they are then stored, graded and stored, and then roasted off. There is no thing called raw cacao. It is a myth, and it's a bit of a hype, to be perfectly honest, because when you look at how cacao is processed from the pods to the end product that you are working with, the fermentation process alone is quite a hot condition. And then they are roasted after they have been dried and winnowed away from the pulp, which protects the actual fruiting seed inside from all kinds of, rots, molds, fungi, and that kind of thing. So cacao has to be roasted. It's just the different ways of roasting it that make this medicine sacred. And I'm going to go into that in a little while with you. So when you have broken down the cacao beans into the cacao nibs, after that process, most cacao around the world is sold through merchants and is then bought by companies that then go into a factory process with big machines, high heat temperatures, extraction processes that separate the butter fat, which is cacao butter, from the fiber, which is cacao powder, which a lot of people use in smoothies and make hot chocolate with it. It's further processed to make cocoa powder, which is not the same as cacao powder. It's very, very highly processed and often has other nasty things added to it. So when you buy cocoa powder, you are buying something that is reduced to pretty much just the taste of chocolate. And certainly when you buy hot chocolate powder like Divine or Green and Blacks, or I'm not even going to go anywhere else with other names because they don't even, I just want to spit when I say them because they're not nice at all. It's far removed from what the purity of what we're dealing with sacred ceremonial medicine here. The butter fat is amazing, and it is such a rich, saturated fat that is very health giving. It's great for our skin. It's used in a lot of cosmetics and a lot of food products. You can actually cook all kinds of food using cacao butter. So it's another healthy fat to have. So I always say have some cacao butter in, because it's a great fat and it tastes amazing. It smells amazing too. I have even got some cacao absolute oil, if I can find it in my little box of goodies here. I shall show you. I get this from Glastonbury and from the beautiful aromatherapy store Cacao Absolute, and I use that as an anointing oil in ceremony and circle, and just sniff it. It's one of those things where you can sniff cacao butter and it will stop you craving something sweet and naughty. So that's another one of those little tips that I like to share. And in the whole of these elements of chocolate, what we are really working with ourselves in the sacred way are the whole beans, the cacao nibs, which are the broken beans, which have had the shells removed, and cacao paste or liquor. And most ceremonial cacao that we use is the pure liquor or paste, but there's more to it in its sacredness than just ordering cacao paste or liquor from the internet, Amazon, or I don't know, places like Whole Foods online or what have you, because there's a whole world of cacao out there, and not all of it has been grown, harvested, prayed with, treated with utter respect in the environment of a diverse ecosystem. Most of it is grown in monoculture and harvested without care, and it's then just treated as a commodity. So it's always incredibly important when you're working with any plant spirit medicine to look beyond the title and the hype from where you are purchasing your cacao from. So this slide here just delights me. I have been really fortunate to travel to Indonesia, and I work directly with the farmers and the devotional elders of the diverse ecosystems of where cacao grows, both in Indonesia and Guatemala, and in Peru, where I source my cacao from. This is fresh, raw cacao in the top shell there. And as you can see, the color is indigo, purple, violet flame. And if I actually should have done this, and I forgot until now, included the Carillion photography image of a cacao bean. It's incredible. The light frequency that cacao emits is so incredibly beautiful. And as you can see here, the beans are surrounded in a beautiful sticky white sweet pulp. And to eat cacao fresh like this is just one of those mouth orgasmic moments that if you ever do get the chance, I highly recommend it. It's an experience you'll probably never forget. Okay, so cacao nutrition. We're not going to spend much time on this because you can Google much more about the scientific facts and the nutritional qualities of cacao. But just to let you have a little look here, that cacao is a very low calorie fruit, and it's a very high fat fruit. So we like that. It's good for our body to have high fat and low calorific quantities, if you will, because when you're eating high fat, you want the satiety, and cacao has the ability to quell our appetite, especially if we don't add any sweetness to it. If you were to eat a handful of beans throughout the day, raw, like you can see here, roasted raw, obviously, but in its entirety, in its naked form, you could probably exist for an entire day on a handful of cacao beans. That is how much they satiate our hunger. But it's a very rich in copper, manganese, magnesium, which our body, when you're craving chocolate, it's because you need the magnesium. That's one of the little things that we can read about. It has a good percentage of zinc and potassium, great selenium, which we need for our endocrine health, and really decent percentages of iron as well. So, but there are over 300 active chemical compounds in cacao beans alone. And one of the books that I always recommend you having to hand if you're a geek and like to know the science of cacao is Naked Chocolate by the amazing David Wolfe and Shazzy Love. Now, David and Shazzy were two of the main mentors I worked with in my early days of plant spirit medicine. and raw food exploration. So these are two amazing beings that have a wealth of understanding of the natural world and superfoods, plant medicine, nature, and being generally really in touch with this earth and all the magic and medicines contained within these plant teachers. So let's have a look a bit deeper about cacao as an ancient plant spirit medicine. What I'd like for you to do now is just take a few breaths, and we're going to enter into the deeper realms of sacredness of this beautiful, beautiful plant teacher. And what I'm loving to share is a little bit of the ethereal, divine nature of plant teachers. Cacao has been grown here on this earth for millennia. And dating back to the ancient civilizations, the Omlek people were the first to be given this medicine when it was seeded onto the face of Mother Nature, this beautiful goddess that we walk upon and that we call home. Now, the Omlek people, we don't really have a great deal of information about that civilization, but they were incredibly advanced. And like all advanced civilizations, you know, they were paving the way for other civilizations of great spiritual and sacred ancestry to follow on. And then we had the Aztecs that carried the mantle for plant spirit medicine, ceremony, and sacred ways with the earth. I truly believe, because I was shown this many, many years ago when I was communicating with cacao in the early days, I believe that cacao was seeded from another galaxy, another timeline, or a parallel universe, if you will, in order to provide, like all the plant teachers do, these strong, semi-psychoactive, certainly very purgative, life-changing plant medicines were given to us at the right time. People discover these strong teachers at the right time for them. And you joining today has given you that message that you are ready to work deeper with this plant spirit medicine. And who knows where that journey is going to take you. But when you are drawn to something, it's little messages from the universe inviting you to look deeper, go deeper at your own pace, and discover just what this could be for you. So these ancient civilizations recognized immediately how important these plant medicines were. And now we have the Maya tradition working incredibly deeply with plant spirit medicine. And I'd like to sort of just share with you, these are the elders in Guatemala of the Cacao Chinimital collective of the Mayan Wisdom Project. And if you would like the links, please let me know. I will share them with you with gratitude. But the Maya Wisdom Project is an incredible educational resource about cacao and the Maya culture, which is still very much alive today, yet we don't hear much about it until we go looking and exploring the realms of these ancient cultures. And cacao has been devoted to in deep honor and service, particularly in Guatemala and on the other small farms of these very ancient lands. And it is grown in a diverse ecosystem rather than the monoculture. So the entire jungle assists in the awakening of mankind's sacredness and reconnection to all the truth that this beautiful earth carries forward when we are ready to receive and let go of our human constructs and dive back into what I truly believe and have been shown is the truth of being in a human existence and embodying our sacredness. Only through nature and our plant teachers and nature's teachers can we truly shed our skin of human and become totally free of all the mind stuff that we let get in the way. So when you're working with such a sacred medicine as cacao, who does offer us the chance and invitation to step sideways out of our thinking human and into our feeling, experiential, soul expanding and embodying personas, do we really tap into the magic of what is possible in our life? So with the glorious, diverse ecosystems that cacao is grown, this level of sacredness is prayed with as a seed, and whilst it's being nurtured into a plant form, and then it is devoted to as it is planted within the forest ecosystem. And it is always watched over, revered, tended to devotedly through from the seed to the harvest and to the creation of the medicine, and to how it is offered back to Mother Earth before any human drinks from their cup. And it is usually the men that grow and tend the forest. This is traditionally what happens. And it is the women that create the cacao and create the offerings that are then given back to Mother Nature as deep devotional service. And then we drink from our cups together in honor of this beautiful bounty that this earth provides for us. And in these diverse ecosystems, particularly in Guatemala and Mexico, there are rich jade deposits. And I always carry jade with me. Jade is part of the crystal grids that we work and weave together in ceremony when we come together to share plant, spirit, medicine, and time with our souls meeting together. And jade is so important to the Maya. And there are lots and lots of deposits within the earth of these ancient lands. And they potentialize and magnify the magic of cacao's energy. And it's no coincidence then that jade and cacao are both known as Maya gold. And it's just a powerful, energetic, quantum exchange of superhighway of communication, consciousness between jade and cacao, that when we choose to purchase and source our cacao from tribes and elder people like we do for sacred ceremony, we are able to consume this magical exchange of energy and information, which I find is just incredible. And when you sit with jade in your hand whilst you are making your cacao, and then maybe you wear jade and carry it with you, you are consciously connecting with the forest ecosystem where cacao is growing. And I'm loving this picture. You have jade in the background. Jade comes in all forms, shapes, colors, and carries within it its own wisdom. When you hold it up to a light, you see many, many visions and landscapes and messages just by looking at jade. So that's a little bit about that. So what are the main benefits of cacao? There are many, as we've touched on already. So what we're going to really concentrate here are some of the health benefits and some of the energetic benefits for you. So we've looked at how our physical bodies react with cacao with the nutritional benefits. So the physical health benefits are rich in antioxidants, and we've seen the nutritional breakdown of some of those 300 chemical compounds, magnesium being one of the big ones, and copper, zinc, manganese, so many, and really rich in iron too. So it's great for helping you avoid anemia, for one thing. It is a heart strengthener, but it also is contraindicated with anybody that does have a heart condition. but energetically, heart conditions are not just physical manifestations of disease. They are emotional manifestations of disharmony within the mind state, which then, throws the body into disharmony, and illness develops. Something that's being really clear to myself and many of us at the moment that are looking around us, seeing lots of physical disharmony within people and ourselves. So it is great for supporting cardiovascular health. It is great at reducing inflammation, and it is really the most amazing overall well-being remedy. The energy we get when we drink cacao is off the charts a lot of the time. I have had a ceremonial dose of about 50 grams today with my Blue Lotus rose and psilocybin medicine, because whenever I work deeply, like we are doing right now, and I'm sharing, I'm not really aware of some of what I'm actually saying. So it's all coming through from my journey on cacao a few hours ago, and I'm still riding the waves of that now. Yet severely, very much present. My words don't come out right sometimes, but I don't apologize for that. It just is what it is. I am a human spiritual connection here. So going back to that spiritual connection, as we've touched on a little bit already, the sacredness of this plant medicine is beyond compare, to be perfectly honest with you. It is a wonderful medicine to begin sacred work in the plant realm with. If you're wanting a teacher that is going to really push you immediately from the first taste, cacao is going to be that teacher. This medicine does have quite strong purgative effects on the body if we go too high with the dose. So in a little while, we're going to look at making a drink and how much to dose for different situations. So for example, my dose was very, very high, and I feel the effects of it. I accept that I'm going to get a bit of a physical reaction, and that can come with feelings of needing to go to the toilet for, more urination or pooping if you have a very high dose. And it can also make you feel nauseous. Some people can actually purge quite heavily if you take too much. So this is one of the cautionary things to take into account, is how you dose yourself, which we will look at in a little while. It's just one of those things that I have to bring people's awareness to, that yes, you might like your big strong cup of cacao, but please be prepared for what may happen afterwards and embrace that, because it's all meant to happen. Okay, so mental clarity and focus. You can actually feel quite high on cacao if you have a high dose. No pun intended. On a lower dose, it can just give you the feelings of such happiness, peace, joy, connectedness, awareness, true clarity. So you can become quite creative. In fact, the creativity, once you have maybe 30 to 40 grams, you are able to create for hours and hours and hours. Lucid dreaming or sleeplessness, however you want to feel about working whilst you're sleeping, is enhanced by working with cacao in the later part of the day. But again, cautionary, because if you're needing to sleep, I highly advise you have a morning dose, not an afternoon dose. It doesn't contain a lot of caffeine. It has a lot of theobromine, which is the stimulatory chemical in cacao. There's very little caffeine actually in cacao, and most people will say, oh, doesn't it have a lot of caffeine? I'm going, no, it's something like 0.02% per 100 grams, which is virtually nothing when you consider a cup of coffee has average 114 milligrams of caffeine per cup that you would buy from one of the coffee shops. It's no wonder people get the jitters. The energy from cacao is much more profound and deep and longer lasting. And it might be a case of you experience a real high energy shift. And being aware of that is important, because you're going to have to ride that for as long as it takes. You know, this is where I was mentioning before, Cacao, she is a force to be reckoned with, but she invites you. And it is inviting your awareness and commitment to working with the medicine that you personally need to take responsibility for. You know, I cannot stress how amazing this medicine is enough, but she does demand your attention and commitment, and to embrace whatever arises for you when you are working with her. So all of it is good, and all of it is in perfect alignment and timing for your highest outcome, even if that's feeling a little bit ill and having to rest for a while because you've taken too much. Okay. It goes without saying, enhanced emotional healing from working with Cacao. You know, you can go through so many emotional processes working with any plant spirit medicine. And Cacao, I get upset when people dismiss it as a lesser plant spirit medicine, when she is so strong, powerful, and deeply profound at teaching you to create a deep connection with yourself first. Self-love is so vital. Cacao really offers you that space to work on your own self-love and let go of all that negative self-talk and harshness that we create for ourselves. So, you know, without being strongly purgative like the other plant spirit medicines from these amazing ancient places around the world, like ayahuasca and iboga and San Pedro, for example, which really don't give you any room to hide away from what you need to do to process. Cacao is much gentler medicine than that. She will never, ever force you. She just opens her arms to you and says, child, step through into my embrace and let's explore this world together. And I will do so with unconditional love for you. That is the message of Cacao, is unconditional love. Energy-wise, Cacao is highly uplifting energetically. You can literally power through an entire day on a morning cup of cacao, and before you know it, it's tea time and you haven't needed to stop or eat or pause for breath. You have become so creative. Your mood is high, your energy is high, and you feel so much joy from working with this medicine. So these are some of the energetic ways that Cacao can weave herself into your world, should you wish to do so, because it is all personal commitment and time out of time when we begin to work with plant spirit medicine. I'm going to break down now a little bit about what are the ingredients in cacao that you may be more familiar with. Okay, taking a little bit more of a look at this so that you can explore the world of cacao in your own way. So we've already looked at the beans and how they are processed down into the various components. And I'd love for you to buy some cacao beans and work with them. And from a tactile point of view, and from a smell and energy, feeling into this medicine as you hold it, as you carry it with you. I used to carry a cacao bean from Indonesia down my bra all the time, and I've still got it somewhere. I've still got it in one of my medicine boxes. I've never ever parted with that special bean. So we've looked at the butter and how great that is as a saturated fat and what we can do with it and where you find butter. What I would like to sort of share with you now is why we do not use cacao powder in sacred work. Already, I've shared a little bit about how cacao powder is made, and in no way is cacao powder sacred or ceremonial, nor should it be ever used in a ceremonial setting whatsoever. The main reason is once those cacao beans have been bought by the merchants and then sold on the stock market to the chocolate companies and the processing companies that make candy and confectionery, they take the cacao beans, and these are not quality cacao beans. It's actually quite sad because a lot of the cacao that goes into our familiar chocolate brands, such as Nestle, Kraft, Hotel Chocolat, Green and Blacks, you name it, any supermarket brand, Lindt, etc. If you were to walk into the big buildings where there's just mounds and mounds of cacao beans piled up, and inspect those beans, you would find quite a lot of contamination, molds and pathogens and what have you that are cleaned off before they are then processed by massive machines in huge sterilized factory situations. So there's an awareness here of toxicity levels, heavy metal contaminations, and so on. And this has been documented by a lot of people that are working to bring awareness to craft chocolate, not the craft as in the candy bar craft company, but actually craft with a C, who seek out the most highest quality beans possible. But these big, massive factories extract at very high heat the cacao powder from the cacao fat, and then it is pressed at high pressure to get all the fat out. And what you're basically left with is a byproduct called cacao powder, or the fiber of the cacao bean. And that really is just a tasty chocolate powder that is great for cakes and baking and candies and that kind of thing, but it is not ever going to be used in ceremony because there is no energy in it. In fact, it's devoid of all kinds of things, including the sacredness, and it's never touched by a human. It's all done automatically by machinery. So if ever you are invited to work with cacao in ceremony and they pull out cacao powder, now you know what you're dealing with, and all you really are going to be getting is a substandard experience in the mouth and the body. You'll get a beautiful ceremony maybe of energetic exchange, but there is no medicine involved in this whatsoever. So you're only getting like a tiny little bit of the true power of cacao. Okay, so I always say anybody working with cacao powder, saying it's ceremonial, or even saying it is raw, they are totally bullshitting. Okay, avoid. And here's a lovely picture showing you the two elements that create the cacao powder in the little dish there. You know, you've got the whole nibs there that are the broken beans, and then the butter is extracted, like we've just said, and then the powder is the byproduct. So this is a huge subject, you know, and this little masterclass is just touching the surface. And it's really after you to, you know, go on your own journey or work with myself or another devotional cacao practitioner, if you know, would like to do that. How do we add sweetness is the next subject that I'd love to share with you. A lot of hype around sweetness and what is a good sweetener to use. And I am a purist. I will only use pure sweeteners, ones that have not been tampered with by machinery, extraction processes, etc., etc. So, because again, you're diminishing the energetic exchange between what you're working with. So one of my favorite things to work with are the minimally processed sweeteners, such as coconut sugar, which is very low glycemic at 35 on the index, honey, but the rawest, purest honey. None of these honey blends, which are taking honeys from around the world or several different areas and blending them together. A lot of honey on the market is nothing more than sugar syrup, which the bees are fed, which is also leading to colony collapse disorder within the hives, because it's like anything, if you live on white sugar, and which is what they are fed, a fondant, which is nothing more than icing sugar, really, your immune system is going to collapse, and then the whole hive will collapse and the whole human species will collapse, because we're sugar addicts. And sugar is a very high toxin in our diet if it is not worked with as a sacred way of nourishing the body in its whole food form. Another beautiful sweetener would be maple sugar or maple syrup. So you've got a picture in the bottom right there of maple sugar, which is, I think how they make the maple sugar is they dehydrate and reduce the sap from the maple trees until it becomes very thick, so that it solidifies, and it is delicious. It's just like eating caramel. It's so gorgeous. And maple syrup, of course, grade A maple syrup from Canada. Get the real stuff, the high quality maple syrup. It is delicious. Panela or raw sugar is another beautiful one in the top right corner there. It is a very pure form of sugar cane. Panela, I think, is an Indian sugar cane, and it is delicious. And all these sweeteners have nutritional value to them. They are not empty sugars. Okay. The processed things that sweeten our foods, things like xylitol, which is highly processed birch sap, which is devoid of any nutrition whatsoever, and it's highly toxic to animals. So it will kill your dog within minutes if your dog gets their mouth around anything with xylitol in. That's it. It's that toxic to them. I think it just causes organ failure within a very short period of time. Xylitol is being put into nut butters and things like that. So please, please, please be aware, because we know that, with animals, we like to put nut butter into their toys to give them enrichment and what have you. So going off subject here, but it's a massive thing that not many people know about. What else is there? Erythritol, inulin. All these things are highly processed. And whilst they might be 0 calorie, 0 carb, that is not always a good thing. They are processed, and our body is like, well, what do I do with this then? If anything is processed, the body it's an alien thing to be putting into our body. So that's our share on sweeteners. What I will say is some herbs and spices have a natural sweetness to them. And once you begin to develop a palate that is less looking for sweetness, added sweetness, you might find that your body can manage without adding any sweetness. But things like vanilla, cinnamon, licorice, they are naturally sweet. So, and these are some of the ingredients that we can look at adding to our cacao to develop different signatures and effects in the body. Nutmeg, for example, is a high psychoactive. So if you titrate your dose, if you're looking for a psychoactive experience adding it to cacao, you can have a bit of a trip by adding a little bit more nutmeg, just finding out where your sweet spot is. This is the power of plant medicine. So let's look at contraindications next, because there are quite a few, and it is always up to the person who is going to be taking this plant spirit medicine as to where they wish to be with it. There are 2 main medicines that we say are highly cautionary. One of those is MAOIs, which are antipsychotics, antidepressant medications, we never, ever, if possible, will work with anybody that is on an MAOI unless they are titrating that down and coming away from it carefully under deep supervision from a practitioner that knows how to titrate them off, because it's a dangerous thing to do when somebody is on these medications. SSRIs are slightly less contraindications, but again, you really need to be very aware that whatever mood alterers you add in, if you are on antidepressant, antipsychotic medications, this medicine cacao is highly alterative for the way our brain processes energy and information. So a high contraindication here. And what I often do working with people in ceremonial one-to-one is, if they are on any antidepressant medication, we start off by holding the cacao in their hand with the beans or some paste, smelling them, and working up very, very slowly with the guidance of a health practitioner to work with them on anything they may experience, because plant spirit medicine does not always have to be consumed in the body. We can use it energetically by smelling, holding it in our mouth but not swallowing it, and holding it in our hands or laying it on our body. If you have a kinesiologist, energy practitioner, taking raw cacao beans with you to your consultation is really helpful, and seeing how your body reacts to this medicine across all levels, really, of health and well-being. It's a good thing to get muscle tested, because some of us really do have some reactions to cacao, including really strong migraines at times. And there is a reason, again, energetically, why that would happen. And that is, I think, for an individual situation to look at. Okay, so if I have this reaction because I've taken this medicine, plant medicine, not pharmaceutical medicine, what is it energetically that this is corresponding to, and how is it showing up in my life right now? And it's a great way to explore your own journey to wellness, doing it this way. Heart conditions, because cacao is very stimulating, particularly the theobromine. If anybody has any circulatory issues with the heart, it is cautionary to begin again by holding a few beans in the mouth and not swallowing, and monitoring your reactions mentally, emotionally, and physically. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding, lesser indications, however, if you're also taking antidepressants and are pregnant or breastfeeding, you're having a compound effect. So again, it's personal choice, very, very low dose to begin with when you are introducing this medicine into somebody's body or your own body in these physical, amazing manifestations of birthing another soul into the world. If you have anxiety or are sensitive to stimulants like coffee, alcohol, etc., again, low dose, really connecting energetically, communicate with your higher self, ask to be guided. Okay. And you may suffer from insomnia, because anxiety is also linked to insomnia, of course. And a lot of the time we don't want to be pushing that boat too much with not getting enough restful sleep. I'm just going to go back a minute, because that's gone on a little bit far. Now it's gone too back. I've never done this before, like I say, so excuse me if I have to backtrack. Gastrointestinal issues, we've touched on already, very, very purgative. But if you have an irritated digestive system, you may find this exacerbated by taking cacao. So again, cautionary, low dose, 10 grams maximum to begin with, and then increase naturally as your tolerance and awareness increases and grows. There are some allergic compounds in cacao. So again, it's always a monitoring situation. Some people really just cannot work with this plant spirit medicine. It is that powerful. Okay. So that's our section on contraindications. And now a lovely, succulent, divine look at a cup of cacao being offered to you. And taking some nice deep breaths again, just bringing yourself back into your heart space. We're going to enter the realms of creating your own sacred space with cacao. The intention begins the moment you decide to work with this medicine. And from that intention and that first moment of devotion to this practice, it begins. Your life will be changed forever. That much is a guarantee. I cannot explain any more than that. It is an experiential work when you dive into the world of ceremonial work with any plant spirit medicine. And I highly invite you to begin with cacao, because she is a loving, heart-centered medicine. So setting your intention to take cacao into your world is about creating beauty. It's the beauty way. And therefore, we start to alter our environment in the home by cleaning your kitchen, by bringing in any tools that you wish to support you, whatever that is calling to be introduced into your work, whether it be crystals, incense, herbs, flowers, anything that you wish. There's no wrong or right with this. Just go with it. It's beautiful. But I always say, clean your space, your internal space here, and your external physical space. And then you can begin making your drink. And we're just going to touch on a couple of ways that you might like to consider making your drink. The quick way and the long way, if you will. You're going to take your ceremonial cacao, your block of ceremonial cacao, get a weighing scale, please, because when you are dealing with some of the contraindications or you're very new to working with cacao, you would really want to be starting low and going slow. Average maintenance dose, daily dose is 25 grams. So, but if you have anything that is contraindicated or you have never worked with this powerful medicine before, please go lower. Start at maybe 10 or 15 grams. So make sure you've got a digital scale, ideally one that is very sensitive to the minutest measurement. Chop your cacao, all the while stating your intention, really focusing on what it is you wish to receive whilst you are in your sacred pause with this medicine. And then if there is anything else you want to add, and you can see here's a little recipe that I've shared with you, very traditional, very in honoring of the Maya culture, to use the cinnamon powder, which is warming, blood sugar balancing, and sweet, and full of amazing benefits. The cayenne pepper or chili, whichever you want to use, is a blood vessel dilator, along as cacao is a blood vessel dilator also. And it adds a circulatory effects. It helps us to clear the throat chakra. So if you work with chili or cayenne pepper, you get the warming heat, but you also get an energetic clearing of the throat chakra, allowing your true voice to come forward, to be heard. A little bit of pink salt or Celtic salt also adds sweetness. It's a nice thing. Salt is something that adds sweetness, if you didn't know that. And then you can work with whatever other sweetener you wish that we've touched upon today, a natural sweetness. Once you have gathered all your ingredients together and you're mindfully chopping your cacao, you might like to have a pan of water warming on the stove. Warm your water first, and as it comes up to the simmer point, add your cacao, turn the heat right down or off, and then mix your cacao into the water. Now, for a small cup, like you can see in the picture, you wouldn't want much water at all. I don't really advise any more than 300 ml for a dose to work with, especially in the beginning when you're learning to create a blend that really resonates with you personally. And you don't want to be quaffing something forever. You know, when you get into working with cacao as a creative force, I'm going to show you, my cup might not be seeing it here because of there, that's better. I get to step back a bit. I've got a 500 ml mug that we bought from a local potter for our long drink, as they're called. And I will make a slightly stronger drink of cacao. And it might take me an hour to drink that. And I'll just keep going back and topping it up with more hot water as I drink. So that's called a long drink, and it will sustain you for a whole day if you keep topping it up, you know, half the drink and then top it up with some more water, half the drink and top it up. So there's different ways of working, but to begin with, just a small cup so that you get to be familiar with working with cacao in your body. And if you've got one of a nice natural whisk, we try not to use metal. I didn't really touch on why. I think that's for another masterclass. But we try to avoid metal contacting the cacao if possible. Not easy in our modern world, but cacao can dilute the spirit of the medicine. Metal can dilute the spirit of the medicine energetically. It's very cutting, if you understand what I mean. So we try to use either silicone whisks and stirrers or wooden whisks and stirrers. And whilst you're stirring, you're putting your intentions and energy and prayers into the cacao. You might even want to have some music playing that really inspires you and shifts your perception of time, space, and emotional frequency. And there's a lot of music out there. And when we work in ceremony together, I'm always putting playlists out there and sending different tracks that are aligned with the medicine work that we're doing. The other way of working to make your drink is a longer way. And this involves not adding the liquid and the cacao to the pan. We instead get a glass bowl, and we pop that over a pan of hot water, just on the simmer, not boiling. And then we pop the cacao into the glass bowl and melt it gently whilst stirring, just like you would melt a bar of chocolate to add to a cake, or, you know, to make some truffles or whatever. And then once the cacao is gently melted by the heat conduction from the water in the pan below it, then we start adding our chosen liquid. And just talking a bit more about liquids that we can add water, which must be, of course, filtered or live water, not just out of the tap, because that carries all kinds of nasties. Always choose as pure a water as you possibly can, generally, not just for the cacao. You might like to add, make some of your favorite herbal tea first. For example, nettle tea, a chamomile, a rose tea, or a licorice tea, or whatever's your favorite herbal tea. And then add that to your melting cacao, and just add a little bit at a time until you get that drink the consistency that you desire for this particular communion with yourself and the cacao. Again, there's no right and wrong. These are just suggestions to introduce you to experimenting for yourself at what works for you. Throughout my time working as a cacao medicine practitioner, Most of that time has been completely intuitively channeled and self-taught from my intention settings and my deep ceremonial work with plant spirit medicine. But I have worked with some highly amazing medicine carriers in the last 13 years. So I have a wealth of experience to share, of which we are literally only just touching the surface here. And I'm looking forward to further exploration and interaction with you all when we decide to work with each other deeper. So once you have got your drink and you have set your space just as you like it, this is your time now to dive deep into your sacred pause. This time out of time, this time where there is just you, the medicine, and whatever is going to unfold for you for the next few hours. And like any energy work, it's not just the time that you're taking your drink where this continues. It continues on and ripples out long after you take the last sip. I'd like to introduce you to the world of our beautiful flowers and herbs and how you can bring them into this work should you choose. One of the things that I do in my practice is create what we call a luster bowl. And this is a little example here, and you can use any living plant material you wish. It can even be a pot of basil from the supermarket, which carries so much aromatic essence, an ability to transport you to a different world. You can use roses, flowers from the garden, even grass, whatever it is that you choose. You take a beautiful bowl that you keep just for this purpose and place in it some spring water or wild water. And then inside the water, you're going to drop the petals or the herbs of your choice and just allow them to sit in your space. Now, this can be done the morning of your intentional ceremony together, and it can be there in the room when you're working with yourself in this sacred time. And what the luster bowl's job is to absorb any negativity in your space. And those flowers will absorb that, the water will absorb that. And at the end of the day, you can then take your luster bowl outside and tip the contents onto the earth whilst saying a devotional prayer offering of thanks and gratitude for the transmutation of all that no longer served you that day. And please explore that and know that you can have a luster bowl every single day, and you don't even need to pay attention to it after you've created it. Just have it in your space and it will absorb any negativity and any energies that are not right for your highest frequency. And every night you place it back into the earth and give it back to Mother Nature, and she will transmute that into unconditional love. So this is a luster bowl, and I absolutely adore working with them. And going forward from the luster bowl, you might like to consider looking into spiritual bathing, which is the opposite to absorbing the negativity. Spiritual baths are where we take our bowl of spring or wild water and we place in there flowers and wild herbs or cultivated herbs from the garden. Caution here, bought flowers contain a lot of pesticide and herbicide, so you might not want to do that. You might want to forage or garden for your flowers. Okay, just a caution. And then when you have added your flowers and petals and herbs to the water, you start to pray with the water, devoting whatever words, poems, or whatever you want to say into the water as you're massaging the flowers into the water and creating a very scented water carrying prayer offering And then at the end, you might like to spritz yourself if you're inside, or if it's winter and you can't be outside, with parts of the water. You might want to wash your face, wash your hair with it, make a hair rinse, or go outside and tip the whole thing over your entire body. And that prayer that you have devoted into the water with the flowers is then absorbed by your whole being. If you can't go outside, stand in your shower or your bath and do that. And you can even get in the bath and put flowers and herbs in your bath and massage them whilst you're having a beautiful bath. So many different ways of spiritual bathing, and there are even books on it. And so another introduction there for you to look at if you would love to explore all these different ways of working with this sacredness that our plant teachers open the door to. And this is your time. All of this, as soon as you set your intention and begin, is your time. Have no distraction. There is no one to be, nowhere to go, and no thing to do but surrender into the process, trusting the process of whatever arises for you, and love it, embrace it, absorb it, and allow it to become part of your very essence. And in this process of self-exploration, there are many tools that you can bring in to deepen your experience. And they're infinite, whatever you love working with. I often take my cacao out into nature with me in a flask, and I'll find somewhere that I want to sit. A tree might call me, for example, some herb, bushes, fruit, grass, rocks. I'll just wander mindlessly because I leave my mind at home and stop where I feel drawn to stop. And then I will sit and drink my cacao and spend some time in a waking dream, seeing what comes up for me. And I leave my mobile phone off and I don't record it. And I write it down in my journal, my experiences. And I've got so much written down from hundreds and hundreds of self-inquiries with my plant spirit medicine. Oracle cards and tarot decks, journaling, reading, listening to music, meditating, deep journeys if you have drum tracks or any other forms of aids that you wish to listen to as you're taking your medicine to create those shifts that you intended to receive. And making it all fluid and organic, whatever works for you, is utterly perfect. And having a journal is, I feel, essential. Not devices, not mobiles, not tech, a book and some pens and paper, pencils, paints, whatever. Be creative and really let this be your true sacred time. And that really is my thanks to you for being here today and looking a little deeper and seeing what resonates with you for the next steps. And what are the next steps? So as a cacao practitioner and plant spirit medicine guide and nature immersion facilitator, there are a number of ways that we can work together. At the moment, we are heading towards the first full moon of 2024. And wow, I'm opening up registration for a deep dive into plant spirit medicine with cacao, starting on the 25th, which is the full moon, for 21 days of devotional practice together. This is online. There will be daily connections, opening ceremony, closing ceremony. And for your devotion to yourself, I would love to send you the link if you would like to request that. And for those that are catching up with this masterclass after the start of the January medicine dieta, I will be offering more this year later on throughout the seasonal changes. I'm probably going to offer 4. One will be around the spring equinox, and then summer solstice, and so on. As the big wheel turns throughout our season, there will be another dieta. But what an amazing time to come and join the January full moon dieta. And I cannot wait to share this experience with each other, because it's all organic. Every day will be different, but I am here 21 days with you, working with the medicine and the other plant teachers that we can explore together. So if you'd like to do that, that's a great opportunity to dive in there. I offer plant spirit medicine facilitator trainings. They are usually one-to-one or as couples or small groups. And the retreats and seasonal ceremonies are also very organically and sporadically put out there. I am planning on creating a 3-day introduction to being a cacao practitioner and almost a plant spirit medicine celebrant, which will be a prerequisite to a 6-day facilitator retreat, where you will be able to explore how you would like to work in ceremony with cacao and plant teachers. So they are going to be manifesting at some point. I have no dates fixed at the moment, because I'm more about feeling into when things are ready to come forward. And this work is not for everyone. These facilitator retreats are very deep, and we work together deeply with nature and cacao, and we will be making cacao from beans on a metate, as our elders do in Guatemala. We are not going to be using machines. We'll be taking the whole beans and creating from scratch. So there's a lot of ways we can work together more with cacao and plant spirit medicine. And there will be opportunities to meet other medicines too, like psilocybin, amanita muscaria, mugwort. We do mugwort initiations, and I bring in guest teachers with those as well on our facilitator retreats. So that's it for today. If you would love to learn more, I am absolutely here to listen and explore what it is and how it can be for you. I always tailor it for you the best I possibly can, so that you get absolutely the best and most out of working with these beautiful teachers. And I would love now to give deep gratitude and honor for your being here. Thank you so much for joining. And I look forward to meeting you somewhere in the universe at some point in time and explore this magic further. Take care for now.